a number of strategies to handle cases of theft, among others, the implementation of anti-crime infrastructure, continuous sensitization of the community on neighborhood watch through our CLOs and the other police unit commanders, and then encouraging also to install CCTV cameras. The property and, among others, increase provision of resources the Uganda police needs. Then we picked the area of theft of mobile phones. It is one of the very many, the area where we normally register a number of cases during the year. And of course, we had 4,043 cases of mobile phones reported during the year, compared to 5,000. Of course, it was a decrease, but it was high during the year. And the Kampala Metropolitan North posted the highest number, then followed by Arua and other districts and divisions. But there are districts like Gomba, Zombo, Lamoa, Omoro, Kwania, Tagwenda, and Katweka Batoro did not register any case of theft of mobile phone. Theft of motor vehicles is also one of the area which we analyzed, and a total of 880 cases of theft of motor vehicles were reported in 2020, compared to 1,147. Of course, it was a decrease, but we had to do the analysis on the website. Thank you. Yes. So the regions which registered the least number of cases of motor vehicle thefts were Moroto with 1 case, Kidepo and West Nile with 2 cases each. Leading these districts, stock divisions, case of theft of motor vehicles is there posted. Then thefts of motorcycles is one other big thing which is registered almost in most of the police units throughout the country. We had 3,507 cases of theft of motorcycles were reported. The graph in the next slide shows the regions which were leading, which registered the number of cases of motor vehicle thefts during the year. Then the next is the districts, stock divisions leading in theft of motorcycles. Nansana division was leading with Kawempe. Nansana had 126, Kawempe 102, then Mukono 93, and the rest you can take from the website as they did. Cattle stealing was also one of the cases, very many cases which were reported throughout the year. We had 6,586 cases cattle stealing, which within the period of review, compared to 7,665 in 2019, showing a decrease. It was, of course, a decrease of 14%. It's worth noting that 15,629 animals were stolen during the year, out of which 5,782 were recovered, while 9,847 were not recovered and still being traced. But of course, most times the animals are stolen and then taken to slaughterhouses. So the investigations are still being conducted. That table shows the distribution of that 6,586 cases, animals which were stolen: cattle, goat, sheep, donkey, pig. It is in that table. Then regions which are leading in cattle stealing, which had the cases. Highest number of cases reported. Ruizi, that is in Barara, Chirowora, the cattle corridor of that western region. It was leading, followed by Albertine, the area of Oima and Bunyoro sub-region. Districts which are also leading in cattle stealing, which registers the highest number of cattle thefts, are also in that table, while other districts never registered any cases of cattle stealing, namely Zombo, CPS Kampala. Of course, we can't have a case around CPS Kampala and then Ginger Road. Then the strategies which were employed against cattle stealing, leading also to the decrease. Above all, anti-stock theft unit is operational, targeting suspected stolen cattle, especially in the cattle entry points along the border points. The rest are in the main book. We also analyzed the domestic violence since it posted an increase, and we had, as noted earlier, 17,664 cases of domestic violence were reported, compared to 13,693. 18,872 persons were victims of domestic violence, whereas 3,408 were adults, while 13,145 were female adults. Then 1,133 were male juveniles, and 1,186 were female juveniles. Of course, major causes of the domestic violence, of course, to cause this increment, as posted in 2019, was of course the lockdown, total lockdown, which we had for a number of months. Then disputes in families. There were cases of failure to provide for family. Other abusers are also abusing drugs and alcohol, and cases of infidelity. Regions which led in cases of domestic violence, we have Albertine region. Then East Choga, that is the first sub-region. Then Aswa, that is Acholi sub-region. Rwenzori West, the area of Kabarole and the other districts. Then KMP North, with this station at Kawempe. Then Ruizi, Greater Masaka, Bukedi, North Choga, and Busoga. There were also districts which were leading in the cases of domestic violence. All Kampala had the highest, then Tororo had the highest. It was the second highest district that posted in the highest number. Kiriandongo, Kabale, Omoro, Soroti, Kagadi, Gulu, Bukedea, and Chotera. 10 districts did not register any case of domestic violence. It's posted there. Chenjongo, Kumi, Kakiri Division, Kalaki, Bududa, Luka, Madukolo, Kalungu, Kakumiro, and Chitagwenda. We also analyzed, members, the defilement. There was increment in the cases of defilement reported during the year of 14,134 cases reported in 2020 compared to 13,000, giving 3.8% increment. And 10,413 were defilement, while normally referred to as simple defilement, while 3,721 were aggravated. Aggravated is when the perpetrator is a person like a police officer like you. So even if you defile a child who is 16 years, you will still be put under that category. A teacher, for example. Then those who defile when they are HIV positive. I think we have analysis ahead of this slide. So that is the number. And of course, the performance by the end of the year, 5,747 cases were taken to court, while 794 cases secured conviction, 21 were acquittals, and then 16. And the reasons for low posting of the number of cases taken to court, courts were closed. Even the DPP were operating at half capacity, and witnesses could also not attend to the police when you're looking for them for statements to back up the investigations. The category of, the next analysis is victims of defilement. A total of 230 victims were defiled, of whom 14,080 were female, while 140 were male. I know most people don't know that that male boy child can also be defiled, but 140 were defiled by the perpetrators, who are of course female, and 10 female adults. 10 female adults. Also, of course, it is under defilement because the victims are imbecile. When you have canon knowledge of a woman or a male who is an imbecile, you are grouped under that category, and such a case is also investigated as such. Then the next table categorizes the age group of victims of defilement. Children of 0 to 8 years who were defiled were 1,280. Then 9 to 14 years, they were 2,986. Then 15 to 17 years, they were 9,954. Then the imbecile, which I explained above, before, is they were 10. With the comparison of 2019 crime statistics. And of course, those are the reasons why, under which the girls between 15 to 17 were defiled. Cultural norms: girls are married when they start growing breasts and go into menstrual period. Then they say that she's ready for marriage. Then adolescent age, where some girls would escape and then get defiled. Then others doing domestic chores, like in villages, up country, girls are sent to the gardens to collect firewood in the bushes, then they are waylaid. And others go and do rearing in cattle corridors, then they are defiled. Then the categories of girls who are defiled, victims of defilement, the numbers are also posted. It's also posted in the next table. Victims defiled by persons who were HIV positive, they were 301. Children with disability were 125. Defiled by guardians, 120. Defiled by parents, more especially male fathers defiling their daughters, 120. Defiled by teachers, those who were in primary, they were 52. Then defiled by teachers, students, those in secondary and higher, actually secondary, they were also 55. The regions leading cases of defilement posted in 2020 is as indicated in the graph. East Choga had the highest, that is Teso sub-region, then Greater Masaka, followed Albertine, Elgon, North Choga, Aswa, MP North, and the rest to follow suit. Then there are the regions which registered the lowest number of defilement cases. It includes Kidepo, Rwenzori East, Kira, that is Busoga sub-region, Moroto, and then Greater Bushenyi. Districts leading in cases of defilement. Sia also indicated in the next table. Patwe was leading, 250. Patwe division here in Kampala South, 252 cases. Kamulu had 236. Mbale 230. Buyende 207. The rest follow suit. Then there are also districts which did not register cases of defilement. In 2020, CPS Kampala, with the actually Chitagwenda did not register, while others posted the lowest. CPS Kampala with 3 cases, Karenga with 8, and the rest, as indicated in the slide. Cases of economic crimes, we also picked that, and the period under review, we had 5.1% of all crimes reported. That total number of cases reported during and throughout the year, with 10,057 cases, compared to 13,264 reported in 2019, giving a decrease in 12. Of course, the decrease could have also been lockdown is part of it. People had nowhere to go, like, because they are locked out in the house, or in their homes, or within their environment. But also the obtaining by false pretense had the highest number of cases registered under that category of 8,096. Then forgeries and uttering false documents, 629. Cybercrime, of course, it was an increment to 253. Then counterfeiting, issuing false check, embezzlement, abuse of office, causing financial loss, bank, and other corporate fraud. Then the districts which are leading in economic crimes, as you noted, KMP South, and I'm about to conclude, Afan. Yes, thank you. So I was noting that why Kampala South, and even the next slide is CPS Kampala, is because the area which is the central business district that is the area. So a lot of cases of corruption, of economic crimes. Then corruption and public sector fraud. From the DIG, you're welcome. Corruption and public sector fraud is another area. A total of 32 cases were reported to police in 2020 compared to 64 cases were reported. The rest, you are going to check from, go through, get from the website and the books which have been given to you. But allow me report on child-related offenses. It contributed to 4.7% of cases reported in 2020, with 9,225 cases, where children, juvenile, were direct victims of crime, compared to 10,596 in 2019. It is of course a decrease, but the offenses which fall under that category is in that table: child neglect, child desertion, child abuse, torture, abortion, child abduction, kidnap, stealing, child trafficking, infanticide, and as indicated. A number of strategies have been put in place by the force to handle cases of child-related offenses. There was the prosecution of child-related offenses in court. The details are there. And then there is also a strategy of strengthening child helpline 116 and referral networks, where children are not handled like at the police station without taking them into the criminal justice line, like taking to court. The rest, of course, worth noting is that there is Child and Family Protection Unit under the force with 100% coverage in all the police stations. I think this is worth noting. And there is continuous sensitization by the CLOs and the unit commanders against the crime against children. Cattle rustling, chair, it's worth noting that we had 20 cases because there was a big decrease of from 2019 there were only 2, but by the end of the year we had 20 cases. And as you are aware, there is a lot of cases of cattle rustling already which is being committed. And the next table, it shows the number of animals robbed during the year or rustled during the year as a result of cattle rustling. Number of cattle there were 3,460. 1,187 were recovered. The rest are still being looked for. Goats 12, then donkeys. Of course, it is prone in the areas of Karamoja area. A number of efforts strategies have been put in place by the force and government to handle issues of cattle rustling. That last year and even now. Disarmament exercise in Karamoja is on. Then establishment, expansion, and deployment of Uganda Police Anti-Theft Stock Unit. Then the continuous operation, joint operations with sister security organization. Then, of course, there is sensitization and involvement of village peace committees. We analyze, chair and members, the case of murder by assault. If you check in the in our report, it was the leading, it was the highest number because we have categories of cases of homicide. So this one was actually leading, where a total of 1,358 cases of murders or death as a result of assault in 2020 reported compared to 1,700. There was, of course, a decrease, but it was leading under that category of crime. 1,362 persons were assaulted to death, out of whom 1,022 were male, then 204 were female. 82 were male juvenile, 54 were female juvenile. And of course, we noted that the decrease in this area of crime was because of most of the assaults take place in places of happening. People go drinking, but because of the lockdown, bars were closed, so those that case, that crime category had to register a decrease. The next is region leading in murder by assault. Asua, that is Acholi sub-region. Then Ruizi, area of Mbarara and rest. Then Wamala, Albertine, the rest you will check from the web. Then districts leading. Gulu had 206 cases. Katwe Division 76. The rest you can check from there. Then there were districts which did not register other cases of murder by assault. Is also noted there, and others had the list. Murder by domestic, as a result of domestic violence, there were 418 compared to 360 registered in 2019, giving an increase, and of total is that 440 people were killed as a result of that, of aggravated domestic violence, of whom 213 were male, 169 were female, 33 were male juvenile, 24 were. That incident of Ginger Road, where a lady was killed and her 2 children stuffed in different sacks and locked in the house during the time of lockdown. It is grouped under domestic violence. It is there in that next that previous slide. There were also regions which did not register cases of murder by domestic violence. Busoga North, Kira, Rwenzori East, Busoga. This should be Busoga South. Then the districts which are leading. We also analyzed cases of narcotics reported during the year, sir. A total of 1,714 cases were reported compared to 2,750 cases in 2019, giving a decrease of 37. Total of 2,391 were arrested, and the gender distribution is as noted. Lockdown still is a contributing factor onto also the decrease, and anti-crime infrastructure with the enactment of the law, which is stringent. And then there were seizures also at Entebbe International Airport, chair and members, that a total of 41.94 sorted drugs, sorted narcotics were seized at Entebbe, compared to 132.12 in 2019, and 48.47 in 2018. The distribution of the categories of drugs which were recovered is there. Of course, heroin is leading with 29.4 kgs, compared to, of course, it is leading, but there was decrease. And you also recall, were still, there was total lockdown, where most of the airports were closed, including Entebbe International Airport, and that is why we heard that. Those are the methods of concealment which were discovered at Entebbe International Airport. Can I have the next? They are concealed in bags, traveling bags. Then the other next. These are pellets which are swallowed. Others are put in mini chocolates, then packed, of course, chocolate leaving Uganda going to other countries. Then management of narcotic cases. They were all managed properly, and 22 suspects were arrested, and they were charged to court, convicted. Of course, there is the option of fines which are also given by courts, and a total of 280,000. 80 million was collected by courts as a result of fines in cases of narcotics. Others were given custodial sentence where they failed to pay, and one person is serving 10 years in prison. And those are the nationalities. The next table. Then the strategies which we have employed is in the next. We had also destruction in December of that quantity. Another area is Sasson, where a acreage of sugarcane was destroyed in Amuro, as you've seen there. Then the causes are there of fire. We had then electro. Next slide. Electro and political and media crimes, which were handled during the year, so it's worth noting. 1,033,000 cases were 1,033,000 cases were investigated compared to 169. Of course, the reason is because it was 2020, because of 2021 elections. Then we also had that number of cases of NRM primaries, which were handled, 333 cases handled during the year. We also had cases of riots, November 18, 19 riots, where 263 cases were handled. The details are there. We also had cases of cybercrime was also an issue, and 256 cases were reported and handled, with the total number of loss 15,949,236,000. Trafficking in persons was another key area of crime which was handled, and there was marked improvement in countering trafficking in persons as a result of good strategies and operational actions taken by the various stakeholders. Of course, police in the lead. Number of cases were handled. Even during the pandemic, there were seizures victims of trafficking were intercepted at various border points, but the details of the cases here, as you noted, a total of 214 cases were registered compared to 256. Then the categories of cases of trafficking in persons is indicated in the next in the next slide. The form of exploitation of the victims who are rescued, mainly labor, then sexual exploitation, rituals, forced child marriage, name them. Then the status of victims of trafficking in persons which were rescued, intercepted 378, rescued 231, recovered 226. Others are not recovered, others recovered dead, that's the number, still missing 2, unknown 3. The destination of countries, so destinations of victims of trafficking who were recovered. Dubai was the leading, 257. Then Kenya, 165. Saudi Arabia, 39. The rest is here. There's Uganda, where other victims of trafficking are brought from other countries to this country. Land fraud is another area which I thought we would talk about. 319 cases were reported compared to 345, with a decrease of 7.5. A total of 400 million was lost, and only 220 million was recovered. 15 certificates of titles were also recovered. The next is, that is a land fraud case.
Director CID, I'm giving you a maximum 10 more minutes.
10 would be even more, so I'm about to conclude the fund. Thank you so much. COVID-19 restrictions and COVID-19 restrictions enforcement was another area we thought we would have here that we had a total of 640 reported, and a total of 2,470 suspects were arrested. 864 were charged to court, others and others convicted. Then 10582 were cautioned and released. Vehicles which were being used to not to observe SOPs 21, then 152 motorcycles. Effects of COVID-19 on actually police performance, not CID. Total lockdown, among others, police was essential. And we continued doing our work, Chair and members, and without ceasing. And yet other criminal justice actors were operating up capacity 20%, 30%, like ODPP courts and Uganda prisons. And of course, as suspects were being arraigned in court, hearing was not taking place. Sometimes the Honorable Chief Justice, of course, gave a guideline that only bail applications were to be heard. So after relaxing the lockdown, most of the cases were withdrawn. Others had lost position, and it affected our performance. Then, as noted, there was also no hearing of cases in the High Court, Chief Justice, Chief Magistrate, and lower courts. But where we could sit, most of the cases were dismissed, as alluded to. While other accused persons were acquitted, and for a number of reasons, including want of prosecution. This affected our performance. Then prisons also had designated remand centers, which were also very far from court and also far from police stations. For example, Chitalia Minimax was used to remand all the central region, including the Buvuma Islands. So when suspects are taken, we wouldn't really have them got back. Kumi prison was used for Peso sub-region, long distance from Katakpi, Kapilabiong, Amuria, Kabramaido, so it became really a video link services, e-justice by the justice actors were only in some specific remand centers and courts. Muzira, Chitalia, High Court, Kampala, Uganda Road, and anti-corruption. Anti-crime infrastructure, briefly. There was, we talked about anti-crime infrastructures, but briefly, they were established, a number of them as guided by HE, one of them CCTV, another one is revamping 99 system, flying squad, fingerprinting of guns, and it posted a number of achievements. The achievements are there in that slide. So the CCTV, maybe because of time, I thought that we would have the director give a brief, since it is crime report releasing. But because of the time, I don't know whether the chair would allow. But CCTV, there were three phases. The first phase is complete within Kampala Metropolitan to 80 area, catering for 18 divisions. Then second phase, covering municipalities, highways, major towns, and all border points. Then third phase is to commence soon. Then the achievements is helping us to identify criminals as they commit crime in the areas where they are fixed. Then establishment of modern forensic laboratory. A lot of work is being done The fingerprinting of guns has supported us in fighting crimes and identifying criminals, putting criminals at scenes of crime. For example, cartridges which have been recovered, you find it has connected. If they commit more than one scene of crime, then it is connecting them. Fingerprinting process of the guns is also going on. I also thought that this area, the director of forensic would come and handle with the permission of the chair. Reforming of flying squad was one of them, and it has been reformed, and it has including sieving of others who are not measuring to the task. They have recovered firearms with ammunition, recovered stolen robbed motor vehicles and motorcycles. 9/9 revival system by the Uganda Police Force. This falls under Director ICT, and a lot is being done. I think that maybe with permission of the chair, we can have the Director ICT present in this area. Response to crime scenes and crime incidences. A lot has been done. It's one of the area of anti-crime infrastructure as guided by ECHI in 2019. A lot has been done, and under that category, of course, revival of 9/9 emergency response, quick reaction by flying squad, number of motor vehicles and motorcycles have been improved throughout the police units, the equipping of forensic laboratory, installation of CCTV cameras. The other area was recruitment of LDUs, local defense unit. Of course, they are under the military, but they are trained and they supported a lot, and of course covering the gap of lack of personnel. Then share activities carried out by support departments. This one they will read, medical examination, you will read, canine, you will read as guided by the chair, flying squad, you will read forensic services, you will read recoveries made in 2020. Out of 883 stolen motor vehicles, 291 were recovered. Out of 337 robbed motor vehicles, 21 were recovered. Out of 3,516 motorcycles stolen in 2020, 1,176 were recovered. Out of 356 robbed motorcycles, 98 were recovered. Out of 15,629 stolen animals, as noted earlier, 5,782 were recovered. Out of 2,570,934,460 cash robbed, 272,526,300 was recovered. Out of 15,949,236 of funds lost as a result of cybercrime, 7,720,000 were recovered. Actually, this chair is because cases are reported when the money is already stolen and transferred, some to outside countries in accounts outside and withdrawn, even if it is withdrawn within Kampala, because the perpetrators even use false documents to register accounts, to register with the URSB, and so it becomes very hard to recover. Out of 4,108,400,000,000 lost due as a result of fraudulent land transactions, 220 million recovered. Out of 60 guns and 100, I beg your pardon, in 2020, 60 guns and 1,256 ammunition were recovered during various operations throughout the country. Fines, 780. Yes, sir. Fines 780, 241 were paid. Were levied by court and paid by criminal offenders. 394, 590 was also paid. We have police deployment under National Water and Sewerage Corporation. This amount of money was recovered. Degrading animals, wetlands, we have NEMA police, we have police officers deployed under NEMA. 28,780,000 we are paid as fines. And illegal possession of transportation of forest products, we have police deployment also, and of course that one under NEMA, and 17,060,000. Sir. Chair and members, there is organized criminal syndicates. You will, I think, read that because there is no time. But the challenges in 2020, as also others still cut across the previous years, we had. We talked about courts were closed. It posed a lot of challenges to the police. We talked about the designated demand centers. We are far from courts. What was not put here is we are also overwhelmed with the civil cases reported, because you can't just watch at them, where there is mass number of victims. Like these cases of, is it Sanjay and others, of course, you wouldn't just watch cases of pyramid schemes where a number of victims, 3,000 people conned. Then, of course, manpower and logistical constraints, insufficient budget to the force, capacity gaps in terms of professionalism in training, in country, and transnational crimes, corruption within the force, inadequate exhibit stores, large volumes of case backlog, which cuts across the criminal justice system, police, DPP, and courts. Then, of course, lack of other resources like K9. We have them. We have only 70 policing districts out of 166. Then key stakeholders, very key stakeholders like ODPP and courts are not established in all the districts. Then, for example, 73 courts, we don't have full-time prosecutors. So the prosecutors who are nearby, they caretake more than one district. So it poses a threat. A challenge. It's a challenge to the police because you have to travel long distance. Then, of course, as indicated, 45 districts. DPP is not present in 45. And with a shortfall of 833. Strategies which we are put in place as I go towards conclusion, sir. There is, the force has recruited and training. In 2020, the force passed out that number, non-AIP and PPCs. And we also recruited 5,200 who are currently training, recruited last year. They are at the training school. The force has also established training schools, as indicated there, for the various, even there is capacity building schools for various areas of the police. Number of officers we are trained to build capacity. Human rights violation, which is a key challenge. There is a whole directorate in charge of human rights and legal services. And then the number of trainings have been conducted and sensitization of police officers by the unit, by the directorate, and other stakeholders. There is intensified community policing, which is being conducted by the directorate of CPC with the unit commanders and all other departments which interface with the public. Resource constraint with welfare, number of resources have been procured and deployed. Even in the welfare of the force, we have that project which you have seen and others in other districts. We are breeding under Kenyan lack of inadequate number of canine. There is canine breeding center in Nagalama, which is supposed to address the inadequacy. Professional misconduct of police officers. There is a whole unit handling this, and also at the police headquarters, there are 6 standby courts from 1 to 6 handling cases of indiscipline and professional misconduct. And where officers commit criminal offenses, they have been taken to court. Those who are convicted, as the law provides, they have been dismissed from the force, and that process is ongoing. So, Chair, I conclude by saying that since Chair, I have one slide as the Chair comes back. Afande. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. But I thought worth noting is that under the organized criminal syndicate, this one of the organized criminal syndicate, that one, 1 minute, Afande. The number busted were 8. There were 9. But by the time they were busted, they had shot and killed 10 people. I think it is worth noting. They had also injured 8 persons. They had cut and injured 1 person. They had robbed 28 million, 1 rifle with 5 rounds, 1 pistol, 253 mobile phones, 2 laptops. They had stolen 1 AK-47, 16 motor vehicles, burnt 5 huts, kidnapped and trafficked 15 people, raped 8 victims, and then received the ransom of 135,000. After busting them, 19 members of the criminal gangs were arrested and charged to court and remanded. 5 AK-47 rifles were recovered, 8 motor vehicles recovered, 1 motorcycle recovered, 1 pistol, 5 live ammunition, 15 cartridges, and named them. 1 member of the gang was shot and killed. This was in Kasese, and 12 victims were rescued. In conclusion, we are saying that much as there is a decrease in volume of crimes reported in 2020 by 8.9%, the fight against crime is still a challenge, and provision, of course, of adequate resources to all the criminal justice chain will go a long way in enabling the relevant criminal justice actors handle their mandate effectively and efficiently. since they are chain linked. And of course, fighting crime chair and members is calls for a concerted effort, and Uganda police force calls upon all the citizens, stakeholders, sister security agencies to continue with the collaboration in fighting crime. I would like to add my voice onto the IGP to thank Justice, Law and Order sector, other security organizations, and public at large for the support they have given, collaboration in enabling that Uganda is a free crime society. As I conclude, I would like to recognize the compilers of this. These are records officers throughout the country who are under CID, but they have their headquarters at CID headquarters. And the head of that department is called Sowedius Man, as Senior Superintendent of Police, with these officers. Andrew, these people do a great job, Afande, in compiling the whole of this book from January up to the end of the year, and then they put it to this level. So I would like to really thank you so much for the time you put to make us have such a great book with all this analysis in place. So with that, I thank you so much for listening to me. I say all this for God and my country. Thank you so much.
In the interest of time, let's have the Director of Fire. No. What I have on my list is Director of Fire and Rescue Services to present his report. And then Director of Traffic will continue. So Director of Fire and Rescue, Mugisha. Mugisha, I hope you will be very brief. You know, Grace was just lecturing to us. So I hope you are going to be very, very brief.
Thank you, sir. Colleagues and members of the press, good morning. I'm representing the Director of Fire and Rescue Services. I'm Assistant Inspector General Police Joseph Mugisa, the Director. I want to apologize that there was a failure in transmission of the results to the center that normally compiles electronically, but I request, sir, that we use the hard copy, which is the manual that we have, the big book that we have, and it's on page 159, chapter 6, Fire and Rescue Services. As you well know, sir, the Directorate is mandated to handle emergencies that include fire, rescue from confined spaces, these are pits, these are trenches, rescue from collapsed structures and buildings, evacuation from floods, rescue from shattered roofs and walls, and rescue from situations that are quite challenging, where ordinary means are not able to do, especially from serious road traffic crashes, just to mention a few. Now, going back, but at the same time, the directorate is mandated to prevent fires, to work to prevent fires, or to minimize them from occurring in our communities, in our homes, in our factories, in our workplaces, in our markets, just to mention a few. Permit me, sir, to go to page 160. In the year 2020, we received a total number of emergencies, 1,015. These were fires, which were handled in 2020. And that compares to 2019, where we handled 999. There was a slight increase of 1.6. We realized when we came to analyze where that increase was there. We established that since most fires occur in residential homes, and the year 2020 was the year when we experienced the ever first lockdown in our country. And that is the year when most children were at home, and even some people that normally would go out to work were at home. And so that explains why more fires occurred in domestic homes, in residences, than elsewhere. And that contributed slightly to the increase in the fire outbreaks in 2020 compared to 2019. Cause of fire incidents were mainly attributed to charcoal stoves, basically matchboxes, basically in homes, which is typical of what the majority of our people use to survive, for a livelihood, cooking using a charcoal stove. And when we checked with the UBOS to get the statistics of how many homes in our country, the percentage of homes that use charcoal for cooking, UBOS gave us a figure of roughly 78% of our homes, those especially urban, use charcoal for cooking. And that again reinforces our argument that it was because there were more people at home during 2020, during lockdown, that more fires occurred in residential places and contributed to a rise in the number of fire incidents compared to 2019. The other major cause was electrical short circuits arising out of use of a number of electrical appliances in our homes, the TVs, the stoves, the flat irons, the fans, the ACs, the chargers, name them, all those fall in that category. And that contributed to the number of incidents as well, as you could see. In the year 2020, as you can see on page 162, the table is there in the book. We also had fires as a result of riots. There were not so many, but they're there. But to go back to that table, we see residential buildings topping the list where fires occurred, followed by commercial buildings, makeshift structures. These are mainly mud and wattle, those that are made of wood, improvised structures which our people use for various activities, vending, and sometimes survival as well. Then electrical installations. These are mainly the transformers, feeder pillars, the substations that you can talk of. They also experienced quite a number of fires, as many as 100. Motor vehicle garages following in that descending order. And on the list, I mean the list number of fires occurred in the banking institutions, but simply because these are occupied for a shorter period. The same applies to offices and public offices mainly. Now you also take note that, sir, that in the year 2020, there were more fires in stores, warehouses, and mainly stores and warehouses. But I think it's because there was a lot of storage, less activity in those places, and there tended to be more fire, but also because sir, the soft copy that is on the screen is of 2020. What I'm representing is 2021, which is not project. No, sorry, 2020. The other one is 2019. I beg your pardon, sir. I beg your pardon. 2019 is on the is projected, but 2020 is not projected, but it's on the hard copy, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. It's just for comparison, sir. That one of 2020 is not projected, sir, but it's on the hard copy, sir.
We are following. Yes. We are following.
I'm sorry, sir. Page 162, 6.4, lives involved in fire emergencies and those that were injured. We had a total of 151 that were injured and a total of 77 that were retrieved as dead, giving us a total of 228. In 2020, a total of 269 rescue emergencies were handled, compared to 249 in 2019. And the table below, which is table 85, shows where those emergencies were, where those quotes were that we responded to and handled. Top on the list are pits. As you very well know, sir, the biggest part of our population still use pit latrines, and the biggest part of our population still dig pit latrines at our residential homes. And there were many children that were thrown in pits by mothers, but also quite a number that were covered by soil in pits while digging, contracted to dig pit latrines. And that accounts for the 135 calls and emergencies that were handled in the pits. A number of people also fell in valley dams and fish ponds, especially in the cattle corridor. We responded and handled 62 very serious road traffic accidents, crashes that required rescue, where ordinary means of extrication could not manage, 114 collapsed buildings or structures incidents or emergencies where buildings collapsed arising out of poor workmanship, and then they chopped people and then we intervened. Trenches, ditches and channels accounted for 6. Searches and recoveries of bodies in rivers accounted for 4. Septic tank emergencies accounted for 3. As you do know, sir, where people are not connected to the sewer line, the central sewer line, which is common, people improvise and construct septic tanks, but sometimes they become a problem and people fall in and lose lives. So during that year, 2020, a total of 151 persons were rescued alive during those emergencies handled compared to 2019. And of these, 99 were males, 52 were females. And the figure is given below. There were other duties that were performed during the year, among many, because the report is a summarized one. We had safety promotion enhancements. These were visits to vulnerable places, markets, timber yards, schools, and name them. But I want also to mention here that 2020 was the year of lockdown, where movement to, for instance, schools was limited because schools were not running. 6th emergency protective standby during public functions, and special protective standbys at other VIP functions, and so on. To sum it up, sir, to summarize and to conclude, 2020 experienced more fires than 2019, basically because of more people being at home, more children being at home, and more use of charcoal stoves, more cooking, more TV watching as a combination, which led to that increase. Thank you, sir. This is the road
the Traffic and Road Safety report presented by the Acting Director, Traffic and Road Safety, Commissioner of Police, Niwabine Rollins. This section highlights the road safety situation in the country and will further present the summary of road crashes as distributed in the whole year from January to December. And this section will also show the severity index to know if you are a road user, how risky is using roads in Uganda. The road situation in this country as per 2020 registered a reduction. There was a 4.7 reduction in the number of crashes reported in 2020, which were 12,858 crashes that were reported in 2019 against the 12,249 crashes reported in 2020. Those figures translate to a reduction of 4.7%. The nature of road crashes in Uganda. The fatalities in 2020 were 3,269 against the 3,407, and this shows a percentage reduction of 4.1%.
What do you mean by a fatality? Do you see we have lay people here? Don't you?
Thank you, sir. Let me explain the nature of our road crashes. We categorize them as fatalities, and these are death. Serious crashes, this is when there is bodily injury. If a vehicle collides with another vehicle and it is a write-off, we don't call that one a serious crash or a serious accident. And usually it brings a lot of confusion when someone learns that his vehicle, which is a write-off, is a minor and is not a serious accident, but we categorize using bodily injury. Then minor is when you have vehicle collisions, vehicle to vehicle. Those are minor cases. I proceed. The monthly distribution of these road crashes in Uganda are as follows. From January up to December, we registered the number of road crashes as 12,249, and the number of deaths, the number of fatal accidents or road crashes were 3,663. Now, the monthly trend of these crashes and fatalities show that in December is when we register the highest number of accidents on our roads. And when we look at the graph presented on our screens, we will realize that in March, April, May, and July, we registered less road crashes. And as the previous speakers said, this was attributed to the lockdown. However, in this lockdown, there were a combination of factors. Because the vehicles were few, but we continue to register the fatalities and serious accidents. One, the vehicles designated as essential found our roads empty and were driving recklessly. Secondly, the motorcycles which were distributing food items in our households found themselves on the roads and were also riding recklessly. The combination of these motorcycles and the designated vehicles as essential that were on our roads resulted into those fatalities, although we had less vehicles on the roads. The distribution of crashes in the police regions gives us an interesting trend that Kampala Metropolitan registered the highest number of road crashes. But although it registered those high number of road crashes, 79% of all fatalities occurred outside Kampala Metropolitan. And this is something we need to note in our analysis. Now, the victims arising out of these of this nature of accidents were as follows. The number of victims killed on our roads reduced by 5.6%, but the figure remained in 3,000, and it is 3,663. And those seriously injured were 8,370, and those slightly injured were 979 persons. When we look at the comparison of the accident victims by road user category, you discover that the passengers on motorcycles died. The motorcyclists, for them, instead of registering a reduction because of the lockdown, there was an increase in the number of motorcyclists that died on our roads. The pedestrians were also many, although there was that reduction of 15%, but we still lose more than 1,000 pedestrians on our roads. And when you look at the pie chart, move faster, on the pie chart below, you will realize that the pedestrians die most on our roads. Why pedestrians? This is attributed to markets that mushroom along the highways and also in the Kampala metropolitan area. You find most of these markets operate along the roads, and the crossing of children, the disabled, the elderly is difficult, and this is where they meet their fate. They are also followed by the motorcyclists. They also die in thousands, and this is the 1,146 motorcyclists perishing on our roads in a year. The passengers also constitute a large number of persons killed, and it stands at 25%, whereas that one of motorcyclists is at 31%, and that one of pedestrians stands at 34%. The most vulnerable category of our road user, they are pedestrians, followed by motorcyclists and passengers. The drivers also perish on our roads, but they constitute a 5% only. However, there are new forms of road crashes that are emerging because of these new roads that have been constructed. There are accidents that occur, and that primary contact result into the secondary contact and the post-secondary contact on our highways. What do I mean? In the first primary contact, the vehicle collides with another vehicle, disengages, rotates, and strikes another one. I think this is a form of these accidents that are attributed to speed and are now on our highways.
No good. You choose the most important areas. By one, we should be done from here.
Thank you, sir. Then, the person seriously injured, as we mentioned earlier, they are motorcyclists. But when you add the category of passengers on motorcyclists, the problem becomes big. Accident victims by age and gender. We continue to lose many lives between the ages of 25 to 34. And the males in this category and in this year were 803 compared to 118 females. Therefore, out of 3,662 fatalities, 2,945 were male against 718 females. Why that trend? The males are more likely to engage in dangerous road user behavior than female road users. For example, in drunken driving and dangerous driving. The males are also to rural areas, the breadwinners, and are often on the road and exposed to this danger. The nature of accidents with respect to time, you will realize from the table that midnight, within that 1 hour, the chances of meeting death when you are on the road are high than getting involved in a serious or a minor accident. Therefore, between that time on our roads, the chances are, when you are involved in a road crash, the chances are you are likely to die. That is an hour to avoid to be on the roads. Then when you also check from 1,300 hours, that hour of lunchtime, we start registering an increase in accidents up to 2,100 hours. And these are categorized as rush hours. Traffic offenses is also an area that we always handle. And majority of our drivers are careless drivers, or they are inconsiderate to other road users, and it is one of the attributing factor to our fatalities. And the table there can explain in the order of severity on the causes of road crashes, sir. Yes, sir. So the causes of road crashes, the leading one is the careless driving, followed by reckless driving, and careless pedestrians who cross carelessly. And then we're in that order. We have tested drivers, and this is a category that we should get interested in. Class B, where majority of us fall, we registered a reduction in the number of drivers we test of 41%. And this is not attributed to the COVID lockdown, but was mostly attributed to the transition from face technology to the new printing company. And as I talk now, the printing company now of driving licenses is doing better. 30 minutes, you can go and get your driving license, and I encourage all of you to quickly go there and get your driving licenses if you do not have. Then, we also, the driving classes, we also registered an increase in DH and DM. And these are classes of heavy vehicles, not the light omnibus of the DL, and the figures are presented there. The road situation in Uganda is not yet good. We still register fatalities, and the vulnerable road users are pedestrians, followed by motorcyclists, and I would not advise to put your children as they go back to school with their luggage on those motorcycles. I want to end here and thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Director, Traffic and Road Safety. I would like to thank all the directors who have presented their reports. Now, before I open the floor for some few remarks and perhaps a question or two, the Senior Technical Advisor, Jailos, would say a word or two, just a word or two about the report, if you don't mind. I hope I will not go to you off guard. She's Madame Rachel Doy. She's the Senior Technical Advisor in Justice Land, what I say.
Inspector General of Police, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, directors, heads of department, and senior police officers present, my colleagues from the Justice, Law and Order sector, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me first of all to express our appreciation for the timely provision of this crime report. We are always glad when we receive it early in the year because it allows us opportunity to do the analysis and prepare for the next financial year to help to address some of the challenges that have been reported. So we appreciate the timely release, and I know as a Justice, Law and Order sector, we shall take the opportunity to study the report in depth and come up with sector-wide recommendations to see how initiatives across the sector can support the continued reduction of crime. I also wish to note with appreciation the general decrease in crime, the 8.9% decrease, which I think is commendable, and similarly the 4.7% reduction in traffic incidences. We note there has been a slight increase in fire and rescue. This is also of concern to us, and I think it's something that requires a little bit more sensitization of the public. When we looked at the statistics, it's fires in the homes due to kerosene, due to gas, due to candles, and I think this is about sensitization and something that we can address going forward. But we appreciate that there has been a general reduction in crime, and we hope that this trend will continue. However, I think there are some areas that we have to note with a bit of concern where the trend is increasing, particularly domestic violence, including murder due to domestic violence, defilement, and kidnaps. This has been attributed a lot to the lockdown, but it's a trend that is concerning because it's an area that affects the family, the home, which in turn affects the generation that is growing up. These are the people who, if we are not careful and care for them appropriately, will go on to commit other categories of crime. So I think it's an area that we have to look at with some concern and see how we can work together, both as the jailhouse institutions, the police force, but also as a community to address issues around domestic violence and particularly the issues around defilement of children. We note, however, that there has been a general decrease in other child-related cases, a 12.9% decrease, and this was also commendable. But for as long as we have serious offenses like domestic violence and defilement, there's still a lot of concern that we need to take into consideration. I wish also to take this opportunity to appreciate the Uganda Police Force, the sister agencies, and the other crime-fighting agencies within the Justice, Law and Order sector, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Uganda Prison Service, and the Judiciary, for the very prompt and appropriate response to the COVID-19 pandemic and to the lockdown. As a sector, the criminal justice agencies quickly constituted a task force. This was early in March. The task force met on a regular basis. I think at the beginning they were meeting almost weekly, and were able to put into place measures to address the challenges of the lockdown, including ensuring that the justice system continued to operate. So one thing that we noted was that soon after the lockdown, the courts were able to resume work, police were able to continue their work, the DPP was able to continue prosecutions despite all the challenges that they shared with the rest of the society in terms of the lockdown. And this is a commendable approach. It was not something that was done in many other jurisdictions. We had people from other jurisdictions telling us that they didn't have similar responses. So I think this is something for which the police force and the other crime agencies should be commended. We note also that there are areas where we need to look at continued support. This includes enhancing investigative capacity. We've had a lot of training for CID and other officers within the police force. This should continue so that we continue the trend of reducing crime, to continue to support and place emphasis on scientific methods of crime management and support for crime intelligence and community policing, and also to call on the public to ensure continued vigilance and support to the Uganda Police Force in fighting crime. Finally, it's my prayer, Inspector General and Deputy Inspector General and the entire police force, that we have continued collaboration with the other justice actors in maintaining law and order and fighting crime, and that we continue to emphasize the 3 C's: communication, cooperation, and coordination. I thank you very much for God and my country.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Rachel Doy, for those wonderful remarks. Now, we can have some few remarks, some questions from the media, to the Director CID, Director Traffic, Director Fire, and limit your questions to the occasion of today. to the annual crime report. You limit it to that. Mr. Nanga, you can moderate.
Thank you very much, colleagues from the media and all members present. The platform is now open. By show of hands, we can get the questions. Once a question is asked, please don't repeat it. And after this session and the closure, those who are interested in the Uganda version for CID, the PRO CID will take you through together with traffic and fire. Yes, sir. Everybody is monitoring what is behind there, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Inspector General of Police. Sir, please, we kindly beg that we run through very fast so that the other activity also takes place. It's very important. Thank you. So by show of hands, you indicate your name, the media house, your question. If it is asked, please don't repeat. So raise hands. Question number 1, then 2 is Vagara, 3 NTV, 4. So we have 4 questions. Thank you very much. You can take the microphone around.
Thank you so much. My name is Ivan Kahwa. I work with UBC TV. I have about 3 questions, if you may allow, sir. I'm going to make them brief, sir. I'm going to make them brief, sir. My number 1 question about the road and traffic safety. It's as if the Commission has appreciated the fact that we have bad roads. We also have floods, but we haven't known if those cases that were registered were actually as well attributed to the fact that we have the state of roads in that kind of way. Then on the issue of phone, the report indicates that in 2020, the phone theft reduced to 4,000, but still it's a big number. We haven't had, as Uganda Police, how many phones have you managed to recover in the report? And if there is a challenge, we would really want to know what makes it hard to recover some phones. Maybe Ugandans need to know. And then about the dog section, at the time of reporting cases, I've witnessed a lot of scenarios where you report cases to Uganda Police and the charges are slapped on you to fuel the car, to bring the dogs. And by the time police arrives on the scene, there is nothing that can be achieved. Lastly, Mr. IGP, about the bureaucracy in helping victims. There are victims who lose a lot of property, but amidst the investigation, they always have information that would help Uganda Police to crack down the criminals, but you find that in many times, that information is ignored. I don't know how police, you'll always work with victims to ensure that at least the community policing we are preaching is achieved. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, my name is Andrew Vagala from Monitor. I also have a few questions. My first question is about homicide cases. You have indicated the cases, 4,460 cases. How many people were killed in these homicide cases? If you have cases,
we have cases, but we do not have the total number of people who are killed in these cases. Yes. The second question is about. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, these are cases, but they are people who are killed. Yes, because when I look at, for instance, at the category of shooting, you have 249 cases, and you have 270 people who are killed. So you have. Okay. The second issue is about the people who died during the November 18th and the 19th riots. Yes, it is. You said there are 53. I would like to find out the category, how you categorize these people. Were they also under homicide, or they were under another category? The last one is about traffic. This is the last one, Afan. The last one is about EPS. You have indicated 290,000, around 293,000 cases, but you haven't indicated the amount of money that you collected from these fines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Edward Muhumza. I work for NTV. I have only one question, and it's to the Acting Director of Traffic and Road Safety. He talked about something that I find significant, which is the number. He said pedestrians are more vulnerable to death because of mushrooming markets on the roadsides and highways and reckless border riders. And he just said he would not advise parents to allow their children move on the roads on their way back to school. Is that enough? What is the recommendation of the traffic police? Because this is a significant matter.
My name is Joseph Kato. I work with the Uganda Radio Network. My question goes to Traffic Director, I think. It shows, the table shows the months of October, November, December, and actually January. Mostly December, just the highest number of accidents. And this is the month where police is always very active. The traffic surrounders, sijui. But these months have continued registering the highest number of accidents, year in, year out. Have you tried as traffic to find out why, what exactly happened these months?
He likes to use the podium. Please hurry up so that you can, your director, so you are going to able to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. Number one, Ivan of UBC, that in my presentation, I appreciate that we have bad roads. No, I didn't appreciate that one. But if you want my view, is that the road network in this country has improved and it continues to improve. I want you to take a walk in Kampala and see how KCCA has waged war on those potholes and roundabouts, and they are soon getting signalized. However, the new kind of collisions we register on these roads is what I emphasize. These roads tempt drivers to drive on high speed, and I explained in detail the type of new collision where primary contact, the vehicle disengages, rotates, and strikes the second vehicle, and it becomes a secondary collision, and when the post-secondary, it strikes even a third vehicle. Those accidents are now common on our highways. 2, EPS receipts, but no money indicated. You are going to read that report, and you are going to see how much we collect. We don't hide these figures. The pedestrians are vulnerable, and I want to emphasize it, are vulnerable, and motorcyclists. Therefore, as traffic, we strongly advise parents who put their children, and you have seen these examples, 4 children going to a school in the morning, we strongly discourage that one. Pillion riding is an offense. It is absurd to lose 4 children from one family because a parent put them on one motorcycle. These are behaviors we shall continue to sensitize and tell Ugandans, and especially you, the media, your role in road safety should be emphasized strongly, and you should not abdicate from that role. It is yours, and you must do it. Tell our parents, tell the school-going children not to use those motorcycles. Lastly, why December? December is a month that attracts vigorous activity in any activity in Uganda, whether on the road, whether in the forest, whether the talking, whether the movement of people. You see every activity gains momentum in December. And because of that movement, vigorous movement, from point A to point B, we register many accidents and fatalities. However, we should continue insisting on behavior of our road users, that even after Christmas and the new year, we need your lives. Thank you very much. On the record, as traffic police, we have intensified engagement with the stakeholders. We have the BIMBAG, I think you have heard it in KCCA, that is a philanthropy kind of activity. We have also intensified our engagement with the UNIA, because some of those activities fall under the mandate of those 2 organizations. And so soon, you are going to see some improvement. And some of these markets may be shifted, or the number that operate in those markets are likely to reduce. Thank you very much.
In case he has not answered you very well, you ask him where his office is located. so that you go and engage him in his office.
Thank you very much, Chair. There was a question from Ivan of UBC on phones which were stolen, reported stolen, and have not been recovered. Yeah, there are a number of reasons why phones which are stolen and are not recovered. One, some phones are stolen and taken to other countries, and as long as it has been taken to another telephone company, for example, the neighboring countries, I don't want to mention, then in our system we can't track. But we have the capacity to track phones and recover them as long as they are in use. The second one is when it is stolen and is not put in use, stolen and kept, so you can't easily track. Until it is put in use, that's when you actually locate such a telephone. Then we have also discovered that some people steal phones and then change the serial numbers. And it is the serial numbers which we use to track the phones. The criminals have some machines which they use to track. Of course, we are working, the police, crime intelligence, we are working with actually UCC, and soon it will be history that a stolen phone can be rendered redundant, and so it will not be profitable to actually steal. So those are the few reasons why phones are stolen, phones are robbed, and you can't get them. My colleagues can add in if there is any other factor. Then Ivan also talked of victims of crime. They have information and they are ignored. That could be a one-off scenario which it is not the method of operation of the Uganda Police Force to ignore information given by victims. We always work with them hand in hand. As long as they have information, we always work with them. But that could be someone isolated case of ignoring information from victims. Then this report, the question from Andrew Bagala from Daily Monitor, out of the 4,460 cases, how many people were victims of crime? We have the appendices attached to that report, but we cannot put each and every information in this report which we are releasing today. But our Department of Crime Data has all the details of the number of the victims. As far, but you can get the details from there. But the information which I take from him is that out of these 4,460, 3,438 were male adults, and 262 male juvenile. Then female adults were 729. Finally, female juvenile was 166. But that information was not included in this book. But the appendices attached to this. Then were this number include? Does it include those who lost lives during the 18th and 19th November riots? The detail is also the head of department is going to inform you. There are a number of appendices to this report which you can access. I think those are the areas I'm supposed to respond to. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Nanyonga, Canine. Dr. Nanyonga is the Deputy Commandant, Canine Unit.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It is true sometimes there's extortion of money from the public due to lack of transport. One challenge we have as K9 is that we have a challenge of transport whereby we have very few vehicles in just 15 districts. So I want to tell the person who has asked this question that our services are totally free. And if someone asks you money for any kind of service, he's acting as an individual. So in case of any extortion, you bring it to our attention. And I want to urge the supervisors that you can step up supervision wherever these people are deployed. Because if you leave them on their own, such cases are bound to happen. And sometimes it's the IOs who are dealing with those cases who connive with the public to extort money. So I don't know whether I've answered your question. But for more information, you can always come and visit us. We are located in Zambia, near American Embassy, for further clarification. Thank you so much.
You have answered him 100% correct. If he's doubting that, he should now answer himself. Now, I think, Mr. Nanga, we have come almost to the end. Can you sort us out?
So thank you very much. That brings us to almost end of this launch exercise. We are going into the actual launch of the annual crime report by the Inspector General of Police. So you'll give a few words during the launch, and then you display the launch to the media, after which you will be joined by the Deputy Inspector General of Police, the Madam Director CID, and also the Technical Director from JAILOS to display all together this book to the media and the public. You're welcome, sir.
Now, officers, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank all of you for enduring this session. I'm happy that we are releasing this annual crime report early enough, as the technical advisor said. It will help in planning, it will help government in planning, government agencies. So I would like to take this opportunity to officially launch the Uganda Police Annual Crime Report 2020. This one here. Thank you very much.
May I ask the Deputy Inspector General of Police to join the IGP. We are going to display it to the media. You can stand in front of the table so that we have a good display. The Director CID. Director CID, please, can you join? Lucy Ladira, please join, so that we have a very good photograph of the display of the. Yes, sir. Yes, that's very nice. Thank you very much. You're welcome, sir. Thank you, and congratulations. So that now brings us to the end of the launch exercise of the annual crime report 2020. We are not going for the group photograph. This is sufficient, and that means we've come to the end of the program. The group photo, I thought this was sufficient. Yes, with. So maybe there are some few copies that you would wish to give to a few colleagues from the media, and as a gesture of the police media relations, we could get the few copies and hand. No, sir, not. This is a good media group that we work with. Bring the copies, hurry up, so that we get this gesture. Hurry up. Just select a few.
Can I get a representative of MTV? MTV, please hurry up. MTV, NBS, BBS. We are going to get all. You are going to get. Please, you do it very fast. BBC, a representative from online, PML, hurry up. Uganda Radio Network, Andrew, give me some few copies. Katoso Koleke. CBS. Okay, don't bring congestion. Oh, thank you. Colleagues, the communication from the PLO is that each and every media house shall be given a copy, and it will immediately be delivered today at your various broadcasting houses.
Up next on UBC, brought to you by
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.